If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland, and I am not going to let that happen.
In 2019, the world viewed Donald Trump decide to buy Greenland as a ridiculous joke. But in 2026, as he returned to White House, the laughter has faded, replaced by extreme tension gripping the anti-play of NATO. Just day after the operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in early January 2026, Washington immediately pivoted its full strength toward an even larger target, Greenland. With the Make Greenland Great Again Act newly tabled, the US no longer had its ambition to annex the world's largest islands. To say bluntly, Americans will get Greenland the easy way or the hard way. This is no longer a mere real estate haggle. It is a redefinition of world borders. Why is the US willing to confront all of Europe to see a massive blob of ice? To understand Trump's obsession with Greenland, look at the history. In 1867, the US purchased Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million. At the time, people called it folly. Today, Alaska is a gold mine, an oil reserve, and an irreplaceable defensive shield for America. Donald Trump believes Greenland is an Alaska of the 21st century in the mind of a project developer. Some see Greenland as prime land left abandoned. Denmark, the nation currently owning the island, has only 6 million people, but must manage a territory nearly 15 times its own size. The US argued that Denmark lacks the resources to protect Greenland from the encroachment of Russia and China. In 2026, the US is playing an open hand. They have made an offer they consider impossible to refuse. Direct payments ranging from $10,000 to $100,000 to every Greenlandic citizen to persuade them to leave Denmark and join the United States. This is a purely transaction abroad, turning national sovereignty into a real estate contract. But to the indigenous people and the Danish government, this is an insult. The Danish Prime Minister has called it a brave violation of international law. However, pressure from Washington grows daily. The US argued that in the world moving toward Arctic conflict, Greenland status under Denmark is a security loophole that Americans can no longer accept. In short, the plan is to turn Greenland into the 51st state, not to buy luxury hotels on ice, but to permanently stamp US sovereignty on the top of the world, blocking any infiltration attempt by Eastern rivals. If military positioning is the excuse for the US to bring in troops, prayers at the true reason, US financial tycoons are pursuing the White House. By 2026, the world is obsessed with artificial intelligence and electric vehicle. But there is a harsh truth. The US is being strangled by China. Beijing currently controls over 70% of global mining and nearly 80% of rare earth processing. If China simply shut the valve on the spot, as it did with futuristic order on October 2025, American anti-high-tech sector from semiconductor to cruise missile would fall into paralysis. Greenland appears as a savior. The latest geological report in 2026 showed the island possesses rare earth reserves totaling tens of millions of tons. Specifically, as mines like Cavendish and Dansbury in the south, the land is filled with precious elements like neodymium, dysprosium, essential for the permanent magnet in EV motors and wind turbines. However, a major barrier remains. Denmark and autonomous government of Greenland have long feared that mining would destroy the pristine ice environment. They even once banned uranium mining due to radiation concerns. But under suffocating pressure from Washington in early 2026, the cards are being played bare. The US is not only promising to pour hundreds of billions of dollars into infrastructure to turn Greenland into a new tech kingdom, but they are also aggressively lobbying to ensure mining companies that do not sell shares to China. In 2024, the US invented to ensure the Danbury mine fell to a New York company instead of venture investor. The battle for Greenland is essentially a resource embrace. The US is not buying an island to look at ice. They are buying an insurance policy for survival of Western technology. By annexing Greenland, the US would officially break China's monopoly, establishing a new economic order where Washington holds both the technology and the raw materials. If minerals are the economic base, the military is the true thrust in the plan to see Greenland Entering 2026, the Arctic is no longer a land of ice and polar bear. It has become a life or death arena between superpowers. Look at what is happening right now. While the US were preoccupied with campaign in South America, Russia in the Northwest has quietly perfected over 50 military bases from the Soviet era, deploying S-400 missile system and interceptor jet flying at the Arctic Circle. In response, President Trump stated bluntly on S-41 in early January 2026.
We don't take Greenland, Russia or China will, and I'm not letting that happen.
Greenland is Washington OCNI, the Pacific Space Base, formerly Thule, is not just a troop station. It's the command center for the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile (ICBM) early warning system. From here, the US can monitor every move made over the top of the world if Greenland falls to a rival, or if China simply builds a civilian airport there. The entire US Golden Dome defense system would suffer a fatal gap. But the most dramatic factor is the Arctic shipping rule. As ice melts, massive cargo ships will no longer need to cross through the Suez or Panama canals. They will pass through Greenland water to shorten through by thousands of nautical miles. In 2025, Russia and China began cooperating closely to develop the Polar Silk Road. The US understands that if they do not control Greenland, they lose control over the future of the global trade flows. This confrontation is putting NATO to the brink of the collapse. Denmark, closely allied, has cried out that the US threat to annex Greenland is an act of sovereignty aggression. But for the Trump administration in 2026 National Security Conference, they are ready to use military measures to establish a security protectorate if Denmark refuses to sign the concession agreement. Why did the ambition to annex Greenland explode in 2026? The answer lies in a cruel paradox. Climate change. While the rest of the world fears rising sea level, superpowers see a window of opportunity swinging wide open in Greenland. The permafrost covering 80% of Iceland is melting at an unprecedented rate in 2025 alone. Over 400 billion tons of ice vanishing, but beneath that melting ice is not just seawater, it's the emergence of deep water ports and shortcuts connecting two continents. Look at the maritime map of 2026. The Arctic Sea Route is no longer a fiction. It shortened journeys by up to 7,000 kilometers compared to passing through Panama or Suez. Greenland is the gatekeeper of this route. If the US control Greenland and turn it into the 51st state, it will hold a new bottleneck of global trade, stripping away the monopoly advantage Russia has been trying to build along its northern coast. Climate may also bring another gift to tycoons. Easy of extraction. Previously, the cost of digging through kilometers of thick ice were unthinkable. But in 2026, as the ice retreats, accessing oil, gas, and rare earths might become cheaper and more feasible than ever. This is why US energy corporations are furiously locked by in the White House to act immediately before China or Russia can plant their flag on the newly exposed mines. However, this is an extremely dangerous game. Pushing industrial mining in Greenland will accelerate global warming. Create a disaster loop. The US face a moral and a strategic choice: protect the environment to save the planet, or see Greenland to secure superpower status in a world that is slowly being destroyed. 2026 is not just a year of real estate haggling. It marks the birth of a new type of sovereignty based on melting. However, how the fastest changing planet on the planet will redefine the world order for the next century. Caught in the vortex of superpower, the people of Greenland, the Inuit who have lived here for thousands of years, face an existential question: where do they truly belong? The greatest dream of Greenlander has been total independence from Denmark. Currently, they have an autonomous government, but still rely on Copenhagen for diplomacy, defense, and eventually a massive economic subsidy of up to $600 million annually, nearly half of the Iceland budget. By 2026, this thirst for independence has been visible, showing over 80% of the population in favor of breaking away. The US understands this Achilles heel very well. Trump's strategy in 2026 is not just military threat, but a wallet offensive. Washington promised that by becoming the 51st state, Greenland will no longer have to rely on mega subsidy from Europe. Instead, the US will turn it into a special economic zone where indigenous people receive direct share from the profit of rare earth and oil extraction. But what is the price to pay? Many Inuit fear a second Puerto Rico scenario in the Arctic. They fear becoming second-class citizens, losing their cultural identity and control of their essential land to the US mining corporation. Slogans like Greenland is not for sale, appearing across the capital, nuke. As the Trump administration began increasing economic pressure on Denmark to force them to release this island. The Prime Minister of Greenland, Jane Frederick Nelson, issued a bitter statement in January 2026. It's forced to choose between Danish protection and the US takeover right now. We choose Denmark. Greenlanders want independence, but they want true independence, not straying an old master in Europe for a newer, more powerful and pragmatic master in Washington. So, will Greenland be an independent nation, or part of Denmark, or officially become a 51st state of the United States? The answer no longer lies in the eyes, but in the power of contract and ambition of superpower in 2026. One thing is certain, as the eyes melt, the older world melts with it. Greenland is no longer a remote island. It has become an epicenter of a new power struggle that we cannot ignore. And you, what do you think? Do you support Greenland maintaining its sovereignty or joining the US to become a wealthy superstate? Leave your thoughts in the comment below. I love to read your perspective.